for each of the sessions, and you'll see a link there to the video and to the ebook.
Cool.
So you can actually go back in time, actually back a full year, and watch all of the different presentations and the ebooks that go with them. So the ebook usually covers the material in more depth. So I can only talk just for like 45 minutes, and if I were to cover everything in the ebook, we'd have to take like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it does cover a lot more material. I try to get, in the ebook I get carried away and go into more detail, more links, and more all kinds of other things that one might get into that might be, and I get into more techie stuff sometimes, so I can get a little over people's heads. Our sponsors are Oceanside Chamber, like I said, and Sonic Spider. These are our programs that we have available, and Creative Internet Brokerage Search. Okay, this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to review WordPress mobile plugins. When are they the best solution, and what are their limitations? Then we're going to do a sample review of WordPress responsive design themes, which is the sort of the better solution to being mobile, but not always, expedient for your needs. And we're going to talk about how to test the theme. That's one of the problems you'll have. You get the theme up, somebody says it's responsive, and you say, oh great, and you put it up, and you spend time working on it, then you finally look at it in your mobile phone and go, ugh. So, I mean, just because it's responsive does not mean it's going to look good. Keep that in mind. So, what components or issues should I watch out for? We'll talk about some of the things that really should be addressed by the responsive design as it displays itself on a mobile device. And then we're going to talk about the difference between free themes and commercial themes. What issues are you going to deal with if you decided to go the free themes on WordPress.org, or you go with a commercial theme that you pay for? So there's different issues there. There is no right answer. The right answer is what works best for you. That's the right answer. Okay, we're going to flash back to actually the very first in this series, one slide, to remind you about what motivates a mobile customer. Okay, so we've got to keep this at the top of our mind as we're doing all of this today. Mobile customers, what motivates them is staying connected, locating places, things, and events. People use their mobile phones, and this is based on surveys I read. People use their mobile phones to find things quickly, connect to events, and connect to places. That's what they use their mobile phone for, predominantly. So they really respond to location-based offers, time-based offers, things happening now type thing, coupons that they can use on their phone, and push notifications that remind them about events and things happening. Okay? So those are the kinds of things that you're going to maximize your use of the mobile, in your business. If any of those fit your business. Obviously, some don't fit what you're doing, but just sort of remind you, those are the kind of things that, one of the kind of philosophies that's becoming more predominant in the web world, and it's called mobile first, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, to plugin or to theme? That is the question. Okay, plugins. The plugin's best if you have an existing site and you're in a panic and you need it to be mobile yesterday. Okay? And we'll talk about how that works out. It's a short-term solution, and it works best if your mobile requirements are minimal. In other words, what you're doing is you have your business, let's say, for example, is a business that doesn't do a lot of those mobile motivators. You're not big in those areas. But you still, when somebody comes to look at your site, you just don't want them to go, oh, I can't read it. You see? So you don't want that to happen. So you don't want a negative. You don't need a huge positive, but you definitely don't want a negative. Well, a plugin might do that for you, because it at least makes your site usable, where it may have not been usable at all before. So that's a possibility for using the plugin. And there's some pretty good ones there that we'll look at. Theme, on the other hand, is when you really want to do a mobile solution. It is a more long-term solution. It is good. You've got to think of terms of rebuilding your site. Okay, if you already have an existing site. And you're always, most of the time you're going to get a much better mobile experience for your user. Okay? Okay, so we're going to jump right in to mobile plugins. Here's the first one we're going to look at. WP Touch plugin. It has a pro version that you pay for. We're looking at the free one. This is our WordPress Resource Center, which is one of our Sonic Spider blog WordPress sites. And you can see you've got the heading. The menu kind of got overrun a little bit there because our title was a little too long for it. But it did block it out kind of nicely. So it made it usable. This site would have been very difficult to see without the plugin. Okay, you would have had to pinch and scroll and do all that sort of thing. Now you only have to scroll down, and that's it. You don't have to pinch. Everything has been formatted so it's usable. So this turned a site that was poor on mobile into at least usable. Okay? So that's pretty good. Now, what are the things, we're going to talk about what are the things that are kind of wrong with this. Pros. Okay, it formatted the page, it was nice and clean. What are the cons? Well, it didn't pick up the style of the original WordPress site at all. I mean, it totally ignored it, like it didn't exist. So it didn't do any of that. So one of the things you have to realize with plugins is it's going to pretty much ignore your current style. Whatever it is your site looked at, the plugin is probably going to ignore it completely. The Pro version does allow for some customization where you can come back and kind of add some color and do some images or whatever. And the menu, as you saw up here, was not very good in terms of being, we have a term called thumb friendly. Things have to be thumb friendly, and that menu is not very thumb friendly, especially if you've got fat thumbs like me. Okay, so you go up here and you hit it, and you hit search instead. And you hit it again, and you finally get the menu. So that's not too good. So that's a red flag kind of a thing for that. So a menu is weakly thumb friendly, depending on how fat your thumb is. Okay, Mobile Pack's another one. This one also did pretty well. One of the things it did poorly is, look at the menus here. I mean, you got to have a micro thumb to hit those menus. A mini thumb. But it did lay things out. It did give you a large area here to hit, to go off and look at those posts. So it did do that pretty well. The title is a little better. It didn't run into each other, so it did display the title better. So it had some pluses and minuses also. So, better header layout, good page layout, and read well. Very poor thumb-friendly menus. And the style was basic, and this one doesn't have a pro version, and it has limited customization control. So on this one, you can't go back and do a whole lot. You know, you could check off some boxes in their little configuration thing, but looking it over, it didn't have very many options that controlled the things that were a problem. Mobile Press is the last one. It's very much like the previous one, a little bigger on the fonts, which makes it a little more thumb-friendly because they brought the font size up. So that was a good start. The title is nice and readable. So this was a little better. It's kind of halfway between WordPress Touch and the other one, the Mobile Pack, in terms of those issues. Notice something else though. There's no menu at all. They said, we can't do menus, we'll skip that menus. So that's another problem that you run into, is sometimes they'll just ignore parts of your website. Which is not a lot of hot. Yeah. Where is the menu? Yeah, it's gone. It's one of the best headers, it's good layout. Now this one has an extensive ability to customize the theme. You can actually take the theme and completely rebuild it. That may be an advantage. I didn't get into it very heavily, but it does allow you to do a lot of, you can literally create a mobile theme that will be displayed instead of the basic ones. What you saw was out of the box. I didn't do anything. That's just what you get. That's where you start from. But you can do a completely mobile theme.
Gotcha.
So,
quick question.
yes.
With that being customizable as a theme, would that be something that you can still plug in and make menus with the theme, or is it still not available?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope that, because you can control the HTML for the theme, so I think you can pull the menus back in and do that. So my answer would be tentatively, it should. That should be the case. Okay, here's my general comments about plugins. Weak to poor handling of menus. Menus was the big, didn't do very well on. Few options for customizations except for mobile. Press had definite customization on. The Touch had some. With their Pro version, you have to spend some money, but it's not the free version. We had some problem with headers, not being very impressive. Not that that is a big thing for mobile users. Mobile users aren't into glitzy, fancy. They want to get what they want. They want what they want when they want it quickly. So you don't get too fancy. Thumb friendly was weak, and any of them are better than not doing it at all. So if you're not going to do anything, you'd be better with a plugin. Yes.
The other thing too I noticed about all of them, I've looked at some of these too in the past. They don't particularly make it easy on you to have your call to action and a clickable phone number at the top.
Yes, that's one we'll get to later, and that's really bad, yes.
So you get really frustrated if you're trying to call this company.
Yes, even if you had it on your original site, it just suddenly disappears. Exactly. It doesn't really pick up your elements very well and bring them forward. You're absolutely right. Okay, we're going to dive right into responsive themes. Today, most themes are responsive. Very few theme builders today are not, with their newer themes, are not doing responsive. I mean, that is like the buzzword. You're pretty much guaranteed it's a new theme, it's going to have to be responsive, or they're not going to be in the marketplace. Two sources of themes: WordPress.org, theme libraries, free, and then commercial. I really caution you not to pick up a free theme that isn't on WordPress.org, because it's probably a Trojan. It's probably going to make your life miserable. So if you want something free and it's not on WordPress.org, run quickly in the other direction. Okay?
Well, I have noticed that a lot of the commercial sites, some of them have free
Sure,
themes you
some
can
of them
try
have.
out too.
Right. Absolutely.
No, you would suggest not trying them though?
No, if they're free and they're on WordPress.org. WordPress.org has a whole theme check system.
Well, I know
And
this.
nothing goes on their site without going through this extensive theme check
Okay.
that validates their
That I didn't
code
know.
and do all this. Matter of fact, you can download their theme check. It's a plugin so that you can do a theme check on all your themes. It's called theme check. Just type theme check in the search for the plugin, and there you go. Okay. So there is a whole codex of how you're supposed to build a theme, and it all gets validated in that regard. Okay, it is important to understand your needs. Regardless of which you choose, you must think about your needs first. Don't go diving in and looking for just pretty. You need to think about what your business needs. For example, there are theme layouts that are more business product services oriented. There are theme layouts that are more oriented, what are called magazine themes for blogging and content. There are theme layout things that are more image oriented. They're called portfolio themes. So those are your buzzwords: business themes, magazine themes, portfolio themes. There's several, I think there's 5 or 6 kind of categories you could use in your search criteria for themes. But keep in mind, you want it to kind of match your business and how your business is going. And then what your customers then expect to see as a type of layout for your kind of business. Talk to my computer. Okay, here we come back to that mobile first. In the world today, there is a big push to what is called mobile first. In other words, you think about how your site's going to look on the mobile device before you look at anything else. Because that is going to be your limitation, is getting it to look good on mobile. Because the population of customers is growing tremendously in the mobile space. There'll come a day, whether it's 2 years from now or 5 years from now, where like it's going to be like 90% of your business is going to be mobile. So you need to start thinking of mobile first. Make it look good on mobile, and then go from there. So that brings us to, let's look at the kind of mobile things that we need to look at in our theme. There needs to be thumb friendliness. When it translates to mobile, it needs to be good for the thumb. Menus, buttons, everything has to be big enough to be usable for the thumb. I didn't mention it here, but scrolling. You only want to scroll one way. Left, right, up, down, not both. No pinching allowed. If you have to pinch, you're out of luck. Menus have to be usable and theme friendly. There are a couple of jQuery tools that actually will cause your, like on your Apple, for the little scroller window menu to come up and things like that. So you can actually leverage the native tools on that particular mobile device. Layout of content, clean, simple, easy to read. Get those fonts up so it's readable. No micro fonts, you know, keep them up to a size that's easy to read. Presentation of headers and images. You don't want your image or anything like that to totally dominate the screen, unless that is the whole point. I mean, if they're going to watch a video, yes, it should dominate the screen. But your logo shouldn't dominate the screen, and then they can't find anything else. So we're going to see a problem with that with some. And then you've got to look at customization options. How can you customize it for the mobile experience and still have your desktop experience work well? Okay, we're going to look at a few. We're mostly going to look at these not because they're great or good or better or best, but mostly to give us a format in which to kind of critique them. Okay, things that are good, things that are bad, things that are a problem. That's what we're going to use these for. For free, WordPress.org things, there's various degrees of completeness because they're free. Keep that in mind. Many are more customizable from a code style point of view. In other words, generally speaking, exceptions of course, the free themes allow you to dig in and play with the code more. Your commercial themes tend to wall that off a lot more, so that you have to use their own little WYSIWYG or check their little boxes, and you're not allowed to do anything beyond that. That's not bad. It's just you have to realize that what you see is what you get. If you get a theme that looks a certain way, you're not going to change it a whole lot. You have to work within the confines of that theme's concept. Whereas in the free themes, you can literally take a theme like Weaver 2, which is the theme we use when somebody wants to do heavy customization, and you can make it look totally different, like a totally different theme. Like there's no connection with what Weaver looks like normally, because you can dig in and you can play with all aspects of it. It's totally open door policy, which is kind of nice if you really have to hit a custom look and feel, especially if you're absolutely duplicating somebody's old website to some degree. They want the exact same look and feel, they just want it updated, period. So to do that, the free theme that allows you to access the code and the style sheet is much better. Less non-techie options. There tends to be less of those. Non-techie people have a harder time with some of the free themes when the non-techie aspects are usually very basic and primitive. Can be used as a starting point for a more customized style, and that's what I talked about just a minute. Okay, here is one called Catchbox. It's, I took one of our, we have a whole bunch of dev sites that we put up that we play with themes on and stuff for customers, and we slap them up and they look at them. And so this is one of them. It's called DevTest 004. It's WordPress 004.websites.net. And then we have a whole string of these up there. If you ever want to look at them and see what we're doing. See what mischief we're up to. This was one of our basic ones that we had up. It was originally a Weaver theme that we have up. installed Catchbox, and this is what you get by default. This is the basic Catchbox. You can, of course, change the title, put an image up there. Notice what's missing and what we talked about over here, especially. What's missing is there is,
There's no menu.
well, there is actually.
Oh,
See that right there?
Drop down.
Talk about not thumb friendly.
yeah.
You have to hit that little guy. But there is a menu, right.
Pin
This-
friendly.
It brought the search in. It's not too bad. The header's kind of on the big side, should have been a little smaller. But it did bring it kept the fonts about the same, might have brought the fonts up a little bit more. And if you scroll down, you will see all these components stacked in a vertical way. So it keeps all these pieces. So imagine all these pieces are down, scrolled straight down.
Yeah.
So it pretty much is exactly the same as the site we started with. It's not too bad. Menu is a drop down, which is bad. Good layout, handling, font size is okay. Could have been a little bigger, but it's okay. Menu is way too small, very hard to hit. And the header is a bit larger than you would have liked. Would have liked it to shrink a little bit,
Yeah.
so that they could get to the meat and potatoes of your site.
Or fit a whole menu in there instead of having a drop down.
Made the menu a little wider, right? Now here's the reverse of that problem. They took the menu, and boy, you're not gonna miss this menu.
Yeah.
There it is. Now imagine if you had more than 3 or 4 items, you would see nothing but menu. That's not good either, okay? As having a menu that dominates everything. You just barely see the top of this little header right here, and that's it. This one has your call to action, Tim.
Yeah.
This one is focused around the call to action, but the call to action isn't visible, which is not very good. You would want that front and center, right? I would assume, but I don't know, that if in the header you put the phone number and put a link to a map, that would show up here. So that would be something you would have to build into the site to make it show up at the beginning here. It's unfortunate that they don't have it so you can configure it that way. I looked into configuration, there was no default way to put a map and a phone number, so that it would show up for sure. I think it's something you'd have to do extra, which really is not good. Okay, menu's very friendly, smaller header, has good customization options. The back-end customization is much more detailed than Catchbox. A lot more things you can control. But those large menus, they're good, but they should be some drop down. They should be that big, but they should be a drop down or something, so that they don't take up the whole screen if you have more than 4 or 5 items. So that was a not good thing. I looked for something a little more fancy, responsive area, and so I tried this one. It's called Yoko. It did bring the image in pretty good. It scaled it down. It was, but you can see that the title totally dominates a lot of this. It should have scaled that down. And the menu up here, again, hard to hit things. So one of the weaknesses I saw, and a lot of them I looked at, is how it handled the menus. How it brought the menus over into the mobile experience. There didn't seem to be, the second one was the only one that did something that was more mobile oriented with the menu. And it didn't do it as well as you would like. So the menus are way on the top. It handled the image pretty good. It was clean, but the menus are not thumb friendly, and the large header dominates everything. So remember, mobile users don't care about your header, your logo that much, so you've got to keep that in mind. They want to get down to the finding you. Okay, with commercial themes, there's generally more attention to detail, more non-techy customizations available. Matter of fact, like Elegant Themes has this whole back-end tool that allows you to drag and drop your components and move them around like puzzle type thing. They had this whole back-end customization thing that looks cool. I don't know whether it really does all the work that you need, but it does look cool. Varying limitations outside of the core theme look and feel, so make sure the theme is looking the way you want, and make sure the default theme looks good on the mobile, at least as a good start. Okay, it handles things right. It should be viewed as a core solution, not a starting point. In other words, you're not going to get too far away from what you started with. Okay. Here is a elegant, Lucid by Elegant Themes. I'm gonna left the E off on themes. Ouch. Sorry about that. I didn't see it until just now. Me. Anyway, this is the original theme. This is what it did. But the menus were pretty good, nice and big. It's a nice drop down. This is what they should all do, something like this. Your menu should be a large area that you click and it gives you a nice big drop down. That's
There's a page menu at the top, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so this handled menus real well. This did a good job on menus. This needed to be smaller so that we could see what was going on down here. So we could see other stuff, and so we didn't feel like that's all we saw. And we didn't have to instantly scroll. So, it did do some good things. So that's, this is, Elegant Themes has this whole tool that they can use to rearrange your whole site from. They have this whole technology for that. Thumb-friendly menus are good, layout and readability is good, retains the desktop look and feel, so as it comes over, it doesn't totally abandon the desktop. You still get the look and feel that you did on the desktop. And of course, the header should have been shrunk. They should have downsized it as part of being on the
You said that they have a lot of non-techie stuff that you could do in the back. Can you change the header size?
I would assume so, yes. I'm working with a default out-of-the-box type of a thing here, so I'm just sort of giving you that. But yes, there seem to be a lot, the Elegant Themes have a lot of back-end tools where you can resize things and stuff. So I'm assuming that may be the case, because they're big on that, that's their big selling point, okay? Okay, here's another one that was just sort of ran into. It's by Theme Forest, which is another big theme provider. It actually took this slideshow and did a pretty good job of keeping it readable but small enough. So if you have a slideshow, then it handled it pretty well.
I've used this. This is actually what we have a couple of my current sites on.
Okay.
It's a nice development environment.
Yeah, good. So yeah, it did a good job of the slideshow.
It has a really good slider too, which is nice.
Yeah, this slider does all kinds of fun things. You can embed a video in it and do all kinds of stuff with their slider here. The menu's decent. Could have been a little fatter for fat thumbs, but it's decent. I wish they had shrunk this down a little bit so we could get down into the purchase button or something, but
Well, it has the purchase now button.
Oh yeah, up in the slider, but that's not always going to be there. That's going to be moving away as it goes through. This is, if you were doing a call to action, this would be your button.
Yeah.
You'd want it up there.
Actually, there's a newer version of this too, where you can put a call to action above that header where it says Avada.
Oh, really?
If you look at our site, it would actually have the call to action above that in a colored band.
That must be a setting, because I'm looking at their current demo today.
Okay, yeah, and maybe it is a setting that you
Yeah, it
can
must be a
plug in.
setting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's some good settings.
That drove me nuts until they brought out that.
Okay, so yeah, this is the current demo version that they have on their site. That's what I'm looking at.
Yes.
Okay. One thing I noticed, I was using an emulator for the other pages. I had to actually do a screenshot on my iPhone because the emulator wasn't showing the menu. We'll talk about emulators in a minute. That's one way you can test your sites on different other formats that you don't happen to have. But keep in mind that emulators don't always show everything, and this is a case where the emulator totally dropped the menu. you know, but on my iPhone, it did show up fine, so.
I'm assuming like with your regular PC websites too, that above the fold means a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm
That's
concerned
really what you're
about.
going through.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that, and that's part of the discussion.
Well, sliders in general, bring that topic up.
Yeah. It's good menu, good scaling of the slideshow, easy layout and clean. Header could be a little tighter, and that would make it better. And if the call to action setting is there, that fixes that little problem, and that would be great too. So there's that theme for. Okay, what's missing in all of this that we've talked about? Okay, you brought it up. Here it is. Phone number. That should be something that all of these themes should be saying in their settings, phone number. And it puts it up there whether you had it there on the desktop site or not. It should be there. Same thing with if you're a location-based business, there should be a map button. Boom, right there. Those would be two settings that every one of these things should have right front and center for you to set for your mobile device. And matter of fact, when you bring it up on your mobile, when you're testing it, it should have potential map button right here, or something like that, that reminds you to set that, you know. Mobile users are less impressed by fancy headers. They want to find you or find it. Okay, find you or find it. Whatever it is they're looking for. I was just reading a whole article on, I think it was Time, on the current generation that they're calling, what are they calling the current generation here? Oh yeah, the millenniums, yes.
Millenniums.
Millennials.
The millennials.
Millennium.
And this was very emphasized, that they don't care about all this fancy dancy stuff. They want to find it, they want to get there. They, you know, none of that stuff impresses them. So don't try to market to them in that way. They're just not impressed.
How about visually though, unifying the mobile site with your PC site with your,
Desktop, yeah.
well, not on your desktop, but with your handouts?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to keep branding in this whole mix.
Yeah, well, no, that's one nice thing about the commercial sites. They tend to maintain the look and feel at least. So you get that branding in there.
So, but minimize the visuals.
Right, yeah,
because they
minimize
take
them
up
so
a
they
lot
don't
of-
distract from the real goals of your mobile user.
Right.
Fonts should be generally larger, some did that well, others did not. And of course, always emphasis on thumb friendly. So if you can't comfortably hit those things with your thumb, then you've got a problem. And the mobile user is going to leave right away, okay? Okay, let's look at what we covered. We reviewed the mobile plugins and how those turned out. They tended to go off and do a very primitive theme. The last of the three allowed you to do some customization and create your own mobile theme. But other than that, there were a number of limitations with the plugins. And keep in mind that the plugin would be a reasonable solution if you needed it right now today while you were working on your responsive state. And or you have a kind of business, you sell you know, carriage bolts or something, and you're not expecting a whole lot of mobile users, but you would like your customers to come to your mobile site without going yuck, you know, so you want it to at least be functional. So that would be a possible reason to use plugins. We looked at a few responsive themes in order to talk about it. How do you test a theme? Okay. There are emulators out there. The ebook covers that. There's a whole section in the ebook on emulators and how to find them and a link to it. So that's in the ebook. But basically, you can have an emulator that emulates your iPhone, iPhone 5, your Androids, your tablets. That's a good place to start. Keep in mind that some sites, some of these emulators don't show everything. They skip some things. So if you're looking at it and you're going, I don't know, you know, try to get a device to somewhere along the line before you make that final decision, because you may see something pop up that wasn't there in the emulator that might change your mind about whether that's a good theme or not. We talked about the components or issues that you should watch out for from a mobile point of view. And we talked a little bit about the difference between free themes and commercial. questions? Anything you'd like to go over? Yes.
With the mobile sites, this might be a little different topic, but what's the
Sure.
pros and cons versus a company that starts their own application, mobile app, versus just having a theme? And do you see in the future that these two would actually eventually merge? The faster our phones become, will applications no longer be needed because they'll be so easily accessible through the phone?
Yeah, we covered that a lot in the previous session.
Okay.
That's fine, we'll talk about it again for a minute. The problem with making a mobile app is extremely expensive. You're talking 30, 40,000, that's just to even start the game. 100,000 if you want to get sort of serious. Not too many small businesses have 30, 40, 50, $100,000 to drop on a mobile app.
Right.
Okay, so you're talking about a lot of bucks to do a mobile app. And also, you want to make sure that the mobile app is doing something totally unique that really captures people. As in a game type thing, as in a social networking, chat type thing. I mean, it really got to engage people in something that goes uniquely beyond what can be done on a website. And of course, the money, that's the big part. And I don't see, there's a lot more tools coming out, so I can see that price coming down, but I don't see it coming down to compete with the web. There's also the other fact that in the surveys that are done, mobile-based web dominates people's use. It's like 70 versus 30 in terms of how people are using. People are using the mobile web more than they're using their mobile apps in terms of searching and looking for things. So it depends on what you're doing. If you're going to get beyond being found, get beyond that, and you actually want to engage people with a game, then the mobile app might be a direction. But then hopefully you're a bigger company too. So yeah, you're looking at something that you should be doing that's really unique in order to take the time and effort to do it. Okay?
Thank you.
Another thing is, how do QR codes fit into this particular device?
Oh, I just read something. These QR codes now are being used for Trojans and spamming and
Quite possible.
redirecting and now, so be careful.
Just another form
Yeah.
of addressing.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's, I just got through reading that in one of your, I think it was Dark Reading.
Mhm.
You should subscribe to Dark Reading, okay? That sounds very dark, but, we really need to do that.
You need to know, you do
Keeps
have
you
a
aware
need
of
to
the
know.
dark side, right?
Anyway,
Right.
QR codes
Know when there's a
becoming-
disturbance in the force.
becoming very dangerous.
Well, you wouldn't use a QR code in a mobile web.
No, you would have a QR code, on your outside your door, or on a poster or something like that.
Right, and it takes you somewhere, obviously.
But they are being abused now, so caution.
Anything can be.
Yes.
John, you mentioned Weaver as a theme that you apparently use a lot. Show us, do you want to show us that? The kind of Weaver themes?
That is true.
I looked at their site briefly and their mobile version. One thing I liked about their mobile version, their responsive version, at the bottom, there's a link you can tap on to see the desktop version too, which is
Oh,
a nice thing to have in some cases.
yeah, they have. I remember which one of our sites used that. I think it's this one. No, that's not the one. Okay. That one.
That'd be kind of a cool search capability. Show me websites based on this theme.
Hmm,
I bet there are some places probably a website that has that search.
Have any of you heard of Spybot?
Yes.
Spyrite, yes.
Yeah, I've been reading up a lot on that. I picked it up free. And I've been reading up a lot on it. The guy that actually wrote it has a website blog that he does. And he has a lot of really interesting information on that. But I've used it a little bit, not a lot. And I'm finding it really interesting. On any WordPress site that I go to, I can actually go behind the scenes without going and, you know, going up to the top and file and all that stuff. I just click on WordBot and it brings it all up and gives me all this other information as well. Really, really handy if you're planning on doing anything to your own site and you're using the same theme and you like what they've got.
Yeah, and you can also, a good tool, if you haven't used it already, is Firebug, which allows you to inspect and actually look at how they did it and look at their styles and look at their code and how they did different things.
Yeah, that's the same thing Spybot does.
Yeah, this is built right into Firefox.
Firefox.
Yeah.
So, and I think they have, IE has a Firebug extension too now. I played with it the other day because I was dealing with IE 10 and a problem I was having in IE 10 showing certain types of gradients. And so I was able to solve that using the Firebug.
So is this based on Weaver?
Yeah, this is based on Weaver, the free Weaver 2. They have a purchase version that gives you Weaver Pro. Okay, so this is the free Weaver where we took it. Another site that we use the Weaver on is this site, is also Weaver 2. This is Home Staging Solutions. So it kind of uses a lot of the basic Weaver structure, but it's typical for Weaver to have this. You can get rid of all that and change it. So you can do a lot of fancy things. But the neat thing about it is you got a lot of control of how you change things. So that's what we use for a lot of these kinds of sites. We had to duplicate their look and feel of their old site, but move it forward into a WordPress type of thing. So that's your kind of Weaver 2 that we used a lot for our different sites. So it's pretty good. It's a good starting point for. They give you a lot of, Weaver has a lot of extra widgets that allow you to control these widgets over here and do things with the widgets on the side. I'm trying to find one where, there's one where, oh yeah, here, where you could have a slideshow over in the sidebar going on.
Oh,
Okay? That's one of the many widgets they have. So it's a little mini slideshow, so, about killed myself. So, a lot of times you have slideshows and they oftentimes dominate everything, but sometimes you want something a little small going off on the side. And so that's kind of good, especially in their case, they wanted to have you looking at their services, but then also show you some before and after shots off to the side. So that was a nice combo.
there you go.
Without dominating the front that much. But then when you wanted to do something with a photo gallery, this is your next gen gallery, which is a real popular gallery tool. It pops up and does this. It has your little jobby here. It's
Yeah,
one of-
the next gen, is that a plug-in or?
That's a plug-in, right?
Oh, okay.
It's a premium plugin.
Right, yeah,
So home staging looks like this on your Android.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I like the way the menu renders on
Yeah, it does a good job on the mobile too, yeah. It,
Great.
it's nice.
Menu?
Oh, wow.
so So, and then you can turn it into a slideshow by clicking slideshow. So it turns it into it flips to a slideshow. That's the next gen tool does that.
Is that what you're using for the slideshow and the widget, the sidebar?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. It might be, but I don't know. My daughter does this stuff. She does the assembly and the
But
design.
next gen gallery is a good way to manage your,
Yeah, we have on the WordPress resource, which is the first one we looked at, there's a whole section on it, how to use it, that Melanie put together on, in demos of how to use it, so go to the WordPress Resource Center, which is right here, which is wpress.sonicwebtech.com is the WordPress Resource Center, and she has the next gen gallery styles right there.
What's up?
Okay.
Actually, when you first mentioned I Googled for WordPress Resource Center, you come up number 1 on the Google search.
Cool. We're doing good.
we like that.
I'll have to tell my wife that, because she's taken over the SEO thing, and she, this is not happening. Oh, this is not happening. That's what happens when you get into the SEO world, you know. I said, just relax, chill.
Well, Google really likes WordPress sites, so,
But remember, so do the bad guys.
Yeah.
yeah.
So protect your site.
Yeah, security, there's a little, we did a whole, if you go to the meetup group, we did a whole section on security, WordPress security.
That's what I was gonna
Book
ask.
and a presentation on that, so you might, if you didn't attend that, you might wanna go look at that. That is, we've been hacked a number of times. And we work very hard at not being hacked, and we've been hacked, so, ouch.
Yeah.
So, and we fixed a number of people that have been hacked, so it is an issue. Okay, so that sort of concludes us today, unless you have more questions. That's great. We officially have to be out of here at 4 o'clock, but if you want to hang around and talk about something, I guess. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
As always, very informative.